everybody. Thank you for joining us again for Chat with Kat, where we shine a light on local businesses. And today, we're going to be shining a light on a business that I've known for several years, Eastridge Auto Alignment. I am lucky enough today to have Brian Rogers here with us, and he is the manager of Eastridge Auto Alignment. Welcome, Roger. Or welcome, Brian Rogers. Welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. Doing well.
Excellent. So tell me, first of all, how did you get into this industry?
Well, I've always worked on cars ever since I was old enough to hold a wrench. In high school, I went to Sequoia Vocational and 3 years of auto mechanics. And my senior year, I co-opted at John Hicks Oldsmobile GMC, local dealership there in Chattanooga, and worked 40-hour week my senior year in high school.
Oh, wow.
Sure did.
You've been working 40 hours or 80 hours a week ever since, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just started there, and when he shut down in 91, I went to work for Goodyear.
Okay.
And I left there and went to work for Freightliner. Thought I'd work on big trucks.
Big trucks, okay. Yeah. How long were you a Freightliner?
About 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And I've been at Eastridge Alignment since 97. So 28 years now.
Goodness, it's 1997, that long ago.
Yeah.
28 years, wow. So, okay, what led you to becoming a service manager? Because I know that's your official title, right? As a service manager.
Right. Well, with my experience with vehicles, and I'm good with people.
Yes, you are. I can attest to that.
Good with people.
Very good, yes.
And, I can explain to folks what's wrong with their car and what all I'm going to have to do to fix it. And, sympathize with them on how drastic or it could be, and usually they understand me, and I figured I was getting on up there in age and decided, well, it's time to put the toolbox up and
take on more of a managerial position.
Yeah.
Did you ever break out the toolbox and go actually work on a vehicle?
Well, I do sometimes. Sometimes I have to go out there and help, not very often, but it's more of my knowledge now and my experience, and I can help and lead my guys in the right direction.
I mean, I'm sure sometimes they need that direction.
Oh, right.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, a typical day is we open at 7:30 in the morning. I try to get there a little earlier so I can get everything fired up and ready to go. And, we don't do appointments. We take things first come, first serve. So morning time's usually busy. And that's the way we like it.
So if people dropping their cars off?
Yeah, dropping their cars off.
Early in the morning.
You talk to them, and usually nine times out of 10, customer will tell you what's wrong with their car. They drive it every day. They know. So you just listen to them and write down what they say, and 9 times out of 10, they're right. And, tell them we'll give them a call when we get it figured out. We usually take in on average about 25 or 30 cars a day.
Wow, that's a really heavy workload.
Well, I have 13 bays, so I've got...
That's larger than most.
Yeah, we got a real big shop.
Yes.
Got a real big shop, and I've got a good crew, and
I'd say you have a very excellent crew.
Yeah,
yes.
we definitely try.
Absolutely. How do you ensure a smooth workflow between the front desk and the technicians?
It's difficult.
I would think it would be.
It is difficult.
Yeah. I mean, for anybody in your position, it would be difficult.
Right. I mean, it had an old customer of mine probably 25 years ago said, Brian, trust but verify.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
And I remember that, and it I try to work back like that. I mean, you know, I trust them. I want to check.
Sure.
And, you know, like I said again, 9 times out of 10, they're right. You know, and
when the customer says what's wrong, they're
well, when the technician comes up and tells you,
they're right. Okay.
tells you what's wrong with the car, and you work an estimate up and call the customer, you know, I trust what that technician's telling me. But 9 times out of 10, I'll go back there and check, make sure.
Just to make sure.
Right. I'll say, show me, you know.
So you don't have a fire to put out later when something else
right.
might be wrong.
And, you know, and you know, mistakes do happen, and you know, things get missed. You know, it's not a perfect world. It's not a perfect industry. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's just like going to the doctor. Sometimes that doctor knows exactly what's wrong with you when you go in and tell him what's wrong with you. Sometimes he got to run some tests and call you back and let you know, well, let's try this. And same way with a car sometimes.
You guys are essentially car doctors.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's like that.
What are some key factors in building trust with your customers? I mean, I know you said going back there and checking and making sure before you call and give an estimate. Are there other factors that come into play in building trust with your customers?
Well, you know, I've got a real big clientele that's been doing business with me.
A lot of repeat customers.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Oh, I know. I'm a repeat customer.
I've grown up there with my customers, their kids, and now their kids.
So you're onto the grandchildren.
Yes, I can tell them, I can say, you know, I'd say, I remember when your grandpa brung your daddy in here, carrying him in the bucket.
Oh, wow.
You know, and they just look at me and grin. They said, Daddy said, come see you, you know, or Granddad said, come see you, you know, and word of mouth. It's just like the old saying goes, word of mouth will break you or make you. And I believe that. I believe it in my heart.
Nowadays, it's also Google reviews will make you or break
you. Sure.
That's word of mouth.
And that's word of mouth. It is. In today's time, social media is the same thing as word of mouth.
Yes.
If you're reading it on that social media, that comes from somebody's mouth. And
yes, it did, right.
You get to know people, you talk to them like they're, you know, your neighbor or your mom or your dad, you know, or your kids, you know, and that's the only way I can explain it, you know. You just try to just tell it like it is, you know, don't beat around the bush.
Right.
Be straightforward. And sympathize with them, you know. Nobody wants to hear, you know, your engine's blown.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Of course not.
And
because all they see are, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to spend so much money to get this fixed.
And then you tell them, say, okay, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. You know, and see what's best for the customer.
Give them options.
Right. And
how do you handle difficult customer situations or customer complaints?
Well, it is difficult.
I mean, no one likes dealing with difficult customers. And it is,
you know, sometimes it can be on a daily basis. And sometimes not. But when it happens, you know, you have to, okay, well, what do I need to do? You know, and first thing I try to do is ensure the customer, hey, I'm going to take care of it. You know, I'm going to do everything I can do, and we'll get it back in here and we'll get it figured out. And I'll call and let you know just as soon as I can. And you know, sometimes it's something that we've already done. You know, either we had a failed part or something like that, and then sometimes it's not. It's a different problem. And that really gets difficult if the customer's already paid for a repair and something else has happened, you know, right after they get it back, you know, but didn't have anything to do with what we were doing, but
they don't necessarily understand that.
Right. And that's difficult, but I just have to explain it to them, you know, the best that I can. And most of the time they understand, sometimes not. You know,
I can tell you have a very calm
well, I try.
personality.
I do try. Now, some, and everybody has them days where, you just can't take no more.
Yeah.
But then again, the good wears more than the bad.
Of course. You get more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right. I mean, it is very stressful and a difficult thing when you have comebacks,
Sure.
but you just have to deal with it, do the best you can, and try to leave it at work and not take it home.
Just cut it off at a certain point, go home.
Yeah.
Do something else for the evening.
Right.
Yeah. I know you're even open on Saturdays. So.
Well, we just recently stopped Saturdays.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We did.
Okay.
We did after.
It's understandable. You need a weekend. You
after,
need a break.
we've been open since 72. So what's that, 53 years? Been open on Saturday, and it was a very difficult decision. We were only open till 12.
Mm-hmm.
And a very difficult decision, and I probably pondered over it for over a year.
Uh-huh.
And it was just getting to the point where I couldn't get parts that I needed. I couldn't get tires that I needed because of places being closed on Saturday.
Right.
And limited crew on Saturday. So limited things that I could do and not do.
Creating more frustration.
Sure.
For you and the customers, I'm sure.
It was just getting where it wasn't profitable at all.
I understand. Yeah. So you had to stop.
It was very, very difficult decision.
Well, plus it gives you the weekend.
Well, it does, and that's one thing that
for yourself.
that everybody is happy about.
Yes.
But
well, you deserve a weekend.
Right.
You do.
Right. Well, my worth ethic is, that's
it's over the top.
All I know.
Yeah. Your work ethic is impeccable.
Right.
What makes your shop stand out from the competition?
Well, I think one thing is, the 53 years or 52 years we've been in business, number one, we are a locally owned, I guess you could call us a mom and pop.
Yes.
Mr. Hall opened it up in 72, 2 sons, and the oldest son retired about, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that. And the younger son has it now. And he's getting ready to retire. He's 70. So, so hopefully, I'm not related, but hopefully I'm the next in line.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Right.
Oh my goodness. That would be fantastic. What qualities do you look for in a great service technician?
Well, they're getting far and few between. And
It's a difficult job.
It is. And the younger generation nowadays doesn't, it's computers and, and that's great. But we need more trade schools and get these kids that want to work with their hands and, might think they might like to do something like that into school, working with their hands and learning how to work on these cars. And I believe our Hamilton County Mayor, I believe he's all for it. And I'm hoping that that he really tries to turn the education around in trade schools. I firmly believe in it. And we really, and because things are changing. How many more years are we going to have gasoline cars?
It's a good question.
We don't know.
We don't know.
And I'm old school. I admit I don't know nothing about these electric cars. And I'm going to
need to learn.
We're going to need people to do that in the future.
Absolutely.
To know that. And but when you get a good one, you know it.
You know it.
You know it the first day.
Yeah.
You know it the first day you hire. You know.
Absolutely. How do you motivate and retain good employees in a competitive market?
Well, once again, you try to keep the morale up, and a lot of people say I baby 'em. And
Well, you're a very kind person.
I kind of do, I guess. And I've had uh, all my older customers that have become my friends
Sure.
give me advice, and I take all I can get. And sometimes I use it. And same guy that told me about trust and verify.
Yes.
He told me, he said, now, Brian, you run the place, they don't. You can't be their friends. And I take that to a point. I mean, I care about all my employees, but, I am there to do a job, and they're there to do a job. And I try to keep home life at home, and I know everybody has, issues and things that they have to deal with other than work. Lord knows I do.
Everybody does.
Everybody does, but we need to just try to leave that at home, come in and do our job, and do it at the best of our ability, and go home and handle home life. It's very difficult to do. It really is.
The dichotomy is hard.
Yes.
What's one thing you wish more people knew about the people working behind the scenes in a repair shop?
Well, I would say that we're people too.
Yes.
We make mistakes, and we do care. I mean, I think all of my employees do care. They try to
yes.
They try to do the best that they can.
They're always very kind.
Right.
Very responsive.
Right.
Very thorough.
I try. We try. I mean, the guy that actually worked on your car, you might not get to talk to him. You probably won't. You probably won't get to meet him.
We talk to you.
Right. But, they'll talk to me, or they'll talk to my service advisors. And, the person that did work on your car, just know that they did the best that they could, and try to get you in and out as fast as they can.
How has technology changed the way your shop operates?
So, Lord. Well, I mean, just not in equipment. The equipment has changed so much, even from, the tire machine that takes your tires off your wheel, to the balancer that balances them, and, the lift that lifts your car, the alignment machine that aligns it. I mean, everything is just advanced so much, and the price of these pieces of equipment has just drastically increased. And we're just like everybody else, with today's times, we've had to go up just like everybody else. The restaurants went up because the food costs more. I mean, all your industries now have went up in pricing because things are just so expensive now. We have to pay our employees more now, so we have to go up. Equipment costs more. We have to go up. So, schools, we usually have classes that are offered to us about every 90 days. And, I can send technicians that want to go to these classes. And the shop usually pays for it. If it's a class that I really think that I need a couple of technicians to attend to learn something new that's out there. And like I said, that's offered to us about every 90 days.
Wow. So you guys are you're keeping up with the new technology.
Well, we're trying. We're trying. We really are.
Are there any tools or systems that have really helped improve efficiency or service?
Yeah. Well, all the cars nowadays have so many warning lights.
Yes, they do.
That can come on.
Yes.
All right. Well, you have to have a scan tool to read them warning lights. And nothing against the parts stores as far as AutoZone, O'Reilly's, and Advance that say, well, check your check engine light for free. All they do is go out there. Their scan tool is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
Plug up to it. They'll read the code. They'll tell you what the code says. And then they're going to try to sell you a part to fix it.
Right. That's the whole point, right?
Right. Without properly diagnosing that car.
Okay.
All because that code says, PO 420, and they say, well, you need an oxygen sensor.
But that's not.
Yes, you may. But you may need a catalytic converter too.
Right.
And it may be the pigtail that plugs into that oxygen sensor.
Yeah.
Or, there's several tests that have to be run to thoroughly diagnose it. And yes, it might come back and say, yes, that's the part that's failed. And then again, it may not be. And that's where our scan tools come into play, because it gives us procedures to follow to properly diagnose why that check engine light, or why that ABS light, or why that airbag light is on.
Excellent.
And that's a very piece of equipment. I just had to update ours yesterday.
Oh.
And that's $1,200.
Oh, goodness.
So just to update it where I can, diagnose these cars.
Yes. Wow.
And that's twice a year.
That you have to do that update?
Update, yes.
Goodness
That's
gracious.
twice a year. And that doesn't count what you paid for it originally, what you paid for the scan tool itself.
So how do you keep your shop profitable while staying competitive with pricing?
Well, like I said, we've recently had to go up on
Everyone
things.
has.
Everyone has. It's just the way times that we're living now.
Mm-hmm.
I've really struggled with it. Really struggled with it. I don't feel like I want my customer to pay for, excessive amounts, and I try to keep everything as less costly to the customer as I can. Because I do sympathize with them.
Of course.
And if somebody called me on the phone and said it was going to cost $1,000 to fix my car, probably,
Sure.
So, I try to keep costs down as much as I can, but there again, we are a profit-driven organization, and I have to make money to pay all the bills.
This is a capitalistic society. Yes.
And things are tighter than they've ever been.
Sure. Absolutely.
By the time we pay our bills and our payroll and, the profit margin has dropped drastically. Drastically.
How do you balance volume with quality in terms of service?
Well, we try to do as many as we can, but, we also keep in mind that we try to do it right the first time.
So that you don't have to put out a fire later.
And that's one reason I don't do appointments.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah, explain that.
I'll explain that, yes. Okay, say if you take an appointment for somebody at 8 o'clock in the morning, and their, check engine light's on, or they want an alignment, or their air conditioning's not working. Okay, so you booked them an appointment, and you've allotted them an hour, and that's just to diagnose the problem. Okay, we diagnose the problem. Well, they need 3 or 4 hours worth of work. Well, you've made another appointment for 10 o'clock.
Right. Now you've created a conflict because you're taking
So now you can't get to that person at 10 o'clock because this guy needs 3 hours worth of work and he wants it done now. Now, if you can talk the customer into it and say, okay, we've got it diagnosed. Now I'm going to make you another appointment to bring it back and get it repaired. Really, what would you say?
Right.
Well, I'll just get it done somewhere else.
Right.
But then again, I've got a good clientele that might fly. But then again, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Because you're gambling.
Well, and it's also difficult for people who work to get their car there and then get to work in an Uber, come back in an Uber to get the car. I mean, it's
now a lot of shops do appointments, and that doesn't. It's just not the way that I was brought up in it. I mean, you know, and I'm sure there's a way to do it with appointments that I don't know or haven't thought of. And a lot of people ask me, why don't you do it? And that's my answer.
It's a very valid answer.
But I like the first come, first serve. I think that's fair.
I think it's fair too.
I do. I think it's fair.
I found it to be convenient when you worked on my vehicle.
Right.
I took an Uber to my office and I waited until you called me and then I took an Uber back.
Right.
And I picked it up and drove the car home.
And a lot of times if you come good and early in the morning, you can wait if it's not a huge job. So, you know.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting out in the auto service industry?
Ooh, that's a good one. Listen. Listen to who's teaching you. Pay attention and listen to them. You know, you might think, oh, he's crazy or, oh, she's crazy. Because we got women in this industry now. And I believe we need more. I have a female technician that works for me.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I've had them in the past.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter if male or female, you know, if you like it, if you enjoy it, listen to who's teaching you. And if you don't ask questions, ask all the questions you want. And hands-on is always the best way to learn.
Always the best way to learn.
Best way to learn, hands-on.
Okay,
we
Brian.
can go to these classes and everything, and we can listen. And when you get back to the shop, see if we can do it.
Yeah, let's see if we can do it.
Right.
All right. Okay. So I want to wrap up today, and I want to invite our listeners, if they have any interest in coming on Chat with Kat, to simply go on yourmediafy.com and fill out the Contact Us form and say that you're interested in coming on the show. And this is specifically for local businesses because we shine a light on local businesses. Today, I am thrilled to have Brian Rogers with me from Eastridge Auto Alignment. And Eastridge Auto Alignment can be found online at eastridgealignment.com. Brian, thank you very much.